Osama bin Laden was born into a world of immense wealth and influence. His birth date is often cited as March 10, 1957, in Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia. He was one of more than 50 children fathered by Mohammed bin Awad bin Laden, a self-made construction magnate who had risen from poverty to become one of the richest men in the kingdom. The bin Laden family business, the Saudi bin Laden Group, was a sprawling construction empire. It was instrumental in building much of modern Saudi Arabia, undertaking massive projects that included roads, buildings, renovations of the holy mosques in Mecca, Medina. This connection to the holiest sites in Islam gave the family immense prestige and a special status within the country. Growing up, Osama was part of this vast and powerful family. His mother, Hamida al-Attas, was one of Mohammed bin Laden's many wives and was of Syrian origin. Unlike some of his more westernized half-siblings, Osama was raised in a conservative environment. He was known to be a quiet and polite boy, deeply respectful of his parents. When Osama was around 10 years old, his father died in a plane crash in 1967. This event marked a significant turning point for the young boy. While he inherited a substantial fortune estimated to be many millions of dollars, he lost the primary guiding figure in his life. Despite the family's modern business dealings, the household remained deeply traditional. This blend of immense wealth, political connections, conservative religious upbringing created a complex foundation for the man Osama bin Laden would become. In the late 1970s, he enrolled at King Abdulaziz University to study economics and business administration. This path many of his brothers followed, known as a diligent student, deeply pious, leading Islamic study groups. Religion became central to his worldview, influenced by Sayyid Qutb. Qutb called for rejection of Western secularism and a pure Islamic state, influenced by Abdullah Azzam. Azzam preached defensive jihad, duty to fight foreign invaders. These ideas resonated with bin Laden. Peers used wealth for luxury and global travel. Bin Laden avoided the lavish lifestyle. He spent time praying, studying the Quran, and discussing religion and politics. 1979 changed everything. The Iranian Revolution. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. For bin Laden, it was foreign atheist aggression. Inspired by Azzam, he answered the call to action. Business and family duty were set aside for what he saw as a higher calling, jihad. Following the Soviet invasion in December 1979, Osama bin Laden saw an opportunity to put his beliefs into action. Soviet tanks crossed the border into Afghanistan. Bin Laden traveled to Pakistan to support the resistance. He was not a frontline soldier at first. He used his immense personal wealth. He used his family's construction expertise to aid the Afghan Mujahideen. He channeled funds to the fighters. He provided logistical support. He used his company's heavy machinery. He built roads into remote areas. He dug tunnels in defensive positions. He focused on helping Arab volunteers arriving to join the fight. He worked closely with his mentor Abdullah Azzam. Together they founded Maktab al-Khidmat, the services office. The group helped foreign fighters travel to Pakistan. It provided housing for volunteers. It provided training. It funneled money and supplies to the front lines. Bin Laden's role as financier and organizer was crucial. He became respected among the Arab Mujahideen. One famous clash was the Battle of Jaji in 1987. His small force held against a major Soviet assault. The battle's military role is debated, but it was a propaganda victory. It cemented his reputation as a brave jihadist leader, a wealthy man who gave up comfort to fight for his faith. With the Soviet war in Afghanistan drawing to a close, Osama bin Laden and his closest associates began to think about the future. They had created a powerful international network of fighters, and they did not want to see it dissolve. In late 1988, in the Pakistani city of Peshawar, bin Laden met with a small group of his senior lieutenants to formalize a new organization. They wanted to create a vanguard group that could carry the spirit of the Afghan jihad forward and apply it to other conflicts around the world. The name they chose for this new entity was Al-Qaeda, which translates to the base. The initial purpose of Al-Qaeda was to serve as a registry and support system for the Arab veterans of the Afghan war. It was meant to keep track of these militants and their families, and to direct them toward new fronts where Muslims were perceived to be under attack. The founding documents of the group outlined a pledge of allegiance not to a country or a king, but to bin Laden himself and the cause of global jihad. The organization was built on a foundation of secrecy, discipline, and a shared, radical ideology. A key ideological split occurred around this time between bin Laden and his mentor, Abdullah Azzam. Azzam believed that the focus of jihad should remain on liberating specific Muslim lands from foreign occupation, like Palestine. Bin Laden had a more ambitious and global vision. He and his new deputy, the Egyptian doctor Ayman al-Zawahiri, envisioned a war against the far enemy, the United States and its Western allies. This shift in focus marked a critical moment in the evolution of al-Qaeda. In August 1990, Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, triggering a regional crisis. Bin Laden leveraged his Afghanistan experience and approached the Saudi defense minister with a proposal. He offered to raise an army of Afghan Arab veterans to defend the kingdom to liberate Kuwait, and argued against non-Muslim troops on Arabian soil. The Saudis rejected him. They invited American troops into the kingdom, and they invited coalition forces as well. Troops were sent to protect oil fields and to stage the liberation of Kuwait. Bin Laden saw this as a profound betrayal. Infidel soldiers so near the holy cities was, to him, sacrilege, Mecca, Medina. He began speaking out against reliance on the U.S. military descent the monarchy would not tolerate. His position became untenable. He was put under house arrest and his passport was confiscated. In 1991 he left for Pakistan ostensibly for business, then moved on to Sudan. Sudan under Hassan al-Turabi welcomed militants. Bin Laden was received as an honored guest. He moved his family and finances to Khartoum and rebuilt his network. From about 1992-1996 he acted as a businessman and as a financier of jihad. He invested in infrastructure projects, agriculture businesses which funded and concealed militant activity. By 1996, Osama bin Laden's presence in Sudan had become a major international issue. Under intense pressure from the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, the Sudanese government reluctantly asked him to leave. Stripped of his Saudi citizenship and with few places to go, bin Laden saw only one viable option: a return to Afghanistan. The country he returned to was vastly different from the one he had left. The Mujahideen had once united against the Soviets but had turned on each other, plunging the nation into a brutal civil war. A new, powerful force emerged from the chaos: the Taliban. Religious students from southern Afghanistan, they imposed a strict, austere interpretation of Islamic law. When bin Laden arrived, they had just captured Kabul and were consolidating power. Bin Laden sought refuge with them, and a mutually beneficial alliance was formed. He brought his wealth, his international network of fighters, and his prestige as a veteran of the anti-Soviet jihad. In return, Mullah Muhammad Omar, the Taliban's supreme leader, offered him a safe haven to operate, to train his forces, and to plan his global war without interference. Under Taliban protection, al-Qaeda flourished. This alliance gave him the secure base to escalate his campaign against the United States. From his secure base in Afghanistan, Osama bin Laden's focus sharpened into a singular obsession: attacking the United States. In August 1996 he issued his first major public declaration, a 30-page fatwa titled Declaration of War Against the Americans Occupying the Land of the Two Holy Places. In that document he singled out the continued presence of U.S. military forces in Saudi Arabia. He called on Muslims to rise up and drive American forces out of the Arabian Peninsula. Bin Laden's grievances extended beyond troop presence. He condemned U.S. support for Israel. He pointed to the suffering of the Iraqi people under Gulf War sanctions. He accused the U.S. of propping up corrupt, apostate regimes throughout the Middle East. Egypt, Saudi Arabia. For bin Laden, these were all part of a single Crusader Zionist war against the Muslim world. In February 1998 he took the declaration further. He and Ayman al-Zawahiri announced the World Islamic Front for Jihad against Jews and Crusaders. Together with other militant leaders, they issued a new, more concise and deadly fatwa. It stated it was the individual duty of every Muslim to kill the Americans and their allies, civilians, military, in any country in which it is possible to do so. This was a terrifying escalation. It removed any distinction between soldiers and civilians and gave religious cover to indiscriminate attacks. The first major strikes came in August 1998 with near-simultaneous bombings of U.S. embassies in Nairobi, Kenya, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. These attacks killed over 200 people, including 12 Americans, and wounded thousands. In October 2000, an al-Qaeda suicide squad bombed the USS Cole in Aden, Yemen, killing 17 American sailors. The culmination of Osama bin Laden's war against the United States occurred on the morning of September 11, 2001. On that day, 19 al-Qaeda operatives acting on years of meticulous planning hijacked 4 commercial airliners on the east coast of the U.S. The plan was audacious and horrifically symbolic. The hijackers turned the planes, full of fuel and passengers, into guided missiles aimed at prominent American landmarks. Economic power, military power, political power, the world watched in disbelief as the events unfolded on live television. The first two planes, American Airlines Flight 11 struck the North Tower, United Airlines Flight 175 struck the South Tower. The impacts caused massive explosions and raging fires, trapping thousands of people above. Within 2 hours, the intense heat weakened the steel structures, leading to the catastrophic collapse of both 110-story towers. The third plane, American Airlines Flight 77, crashed into the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia. The fourth plane, United Airlines Flight 93, was delayed in its takeoff. Passengers, having learned of the other attacks via phone calls, fought back against the hijackers, causing the plane to crash in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, before it could reach its intended target, believed to be in Washington, D.C. The impact of the 9/11 attacks was immediate and profound. Nearly 3,000 people were killed, including citizens from over 90 countries, making it the deadliest terrorist attack in human history. The United States was plunged into a state of shock, grief, and rage. The attacks brought global air travel to a standstill and sent shockwaves through the world economy. It was a turning point, a single day, that would redefine international relations for decades to come. In the aftermath, Osama Bin Laden initially denied involvement, but later released videos in which he claimed responsibility and celebrated the attacks. Following the 9/11 attacks, Osama bin Laden became the most wanted man in the world. The United States placed a $25 million bounty on his head and launched a massive global manhunt. In the initial invasion of Afghanistan in late 2001, U.S. forces and Afghan allies cornered bin Laden and his fighters at the Tora Bora cave complex in the mountains of eastern Afghanistan. Despite a heavy bombing campaign, bin Laden slipped away, likely into Pakistan's remote tribal areas. For nearly a decade, his exact whereabouts remained a mystery. During these years in hiding, bin Laden's role changed. He was no longer the active commander of a centralized organization. The invasion scattered al-Qaeda's leadership and destroyed its training camps. Instead, he became an inspirational figurehead for a decentralized global movement. From hiding, he periodically released audio and video messages. Those messages aired on channels like Al Jazeera. The hunt finally ended on May 2, 2011. Years of intelligence tracked one trusted courier, locating him in a large, high-walled compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. The city was an affluent military town, not a remote tribal area. In a daring nighttime raid, a team of U.S. Navy SEALs stormed the compound. They found and killed Osama bin Laden in a brief firefight. President Barack Obama announced his death, leading to celebrations in the streets of New York, celebrations in Washington, D.C., and mixed reactions worldwide. His legacy, destruction division, and profound historical change. He is remembered by most of the world as a mass murderer and the architect of modern global terrorism. His story is a dark reminder of how one person's journey from privilege to extremism can alter history, leaving a legacy of violence and fear that still shapes our world today.